hard to believe it's 49 degrees on December 27th. It is. I don't know if looking at those flags is a good enough indication as to how hard the wind is blowing down on the field level here at Giant Stadium. Always a factor. Glad you're with us on Fox as Hickson will return it from the goal line. Where will the Giants start with it? At their 20, as that kickoff is well covered by Carolina. Dante Wesley and Jordan Sen downfield to make the play. Just a 20-yard return. And here comes the offense. And while we look at the backs and receivers, the changes are up front again on the offensive line, protecting Eli Manning.
Yeah, and the one thing about it is the offensive line for the most part had been pretty healthy. The only guy until today that had missed a start was Kareem McKenzie. Last week Kevin Booth at left guard had his hands full with Albert Hainsworth. This week Will Beatty will have his hands full with Julius Peppers.
On first down, a delayed handoff to Jacobs, and he was smacked, and it was Peppers who came in trying to build on that big week last week against the Vikings, a loss of 3. Julius Peppers is certainly the focus of any offense taking on this 13th ranked Carolina defense.
Well, this defense coming off their best performance last week against the Minnesota Vikings, played lights out, got pressure on Brett Favre. Julius Peppers did throughout that ball game, and he carries it over right into this one on the first play of the game.
Second down and 13. This is Bradshaw over the left side. And Bradshaw, who's playing and has been playing with 2 sprained ankles and a fracture on the outside of his right foot, picks up 8 and makes it a 3rd down and a lot more manageable 4 yards. We'll call it 5, a short 5. This opening possession for the Giants.
Pretty remarkable what Ahmad Bradshaw has been able to do really all season long. You know, Brandon Jacobs has not had the big runs that we saw from him in previous years. Ahmad Bradshaw has been the guy who's really given this team a little life in the running game.
That might be enough for a first down. Free play, and it's a first down anyway as Hickson makes the catch at the 35, a gain of 9. And it certainly looked like it was Carolina that came across too soon.
It was Julius Peppers, and you see Will Beatty. He's the rookie who will be playing against him in passing downs.
First down.
Julius Peppers lines up on the left side. He'll also move over to the right side. This time he was lined up against Will Beatty, the first 3rd down of the game, and Eli Manning does a great job of snap count to try to neutralize that pass rush.
Hickson led this Giants team in receiving yardage last year with 596. The biggest threat on the outside for the Giants in 09 is number 12, Steve Smith. Play action from Manning. Peppers ends up on the ground, and Manning completes over the middle to the rookie Hakeem Nicks. Peppers is looking for a flag. A 17-yard completion. Giants keep it, and they're inside Carolina territory.
Well, the Giants use play action. This is something that they would like to do more of. Peppers takes an inside release. You see there on David Deal, he gets a hit on Eli Manning late, but Eli hangs in the pocket, throws the dig route there to Hakeem Nicks. Eli doing a nice job moving in the pocket.
Hollis Thomas got there a step too late. So 2 straight completions for Manning, and this one is the first to Steve Smith to the 45, short gain of 3.
Well, I like what Kevin Gilbride did on that play. You come back after the first down and you move the pocket a little bit with Eli Manning. I thought Kevin Gilbride last week in that opening possession against the Washington Redskins was outstanding in keeping them off balance. And Eli Manning right now is playing like we saw from him early in the season. He opened this year playing with great confidence, and we're seeing that right now in the month of December.
Quick throw, Nicks on the outside. Nicks very good with a football in his hands. He's a big, strong guy. Richard Marshall brings him down. As you talk about Eli Manning, he had been a quarterback with a career rating in December of 68.6. This December, #1 in the conference at 122.9. So he's thrown this team on his back, and they're going to need Eli Manning to stay hot if they're going to have a shot at the playoffs. It's 3rd and 4. 5-man rush. The pass is complete for a first down. That's Nix again. Captain Munnerlyn all over him, but enough. 5 yards for a Giants first down.
Well, Captain Munnerlyn, 41, is one of these young players that the Carolina Panthers really like. He's a little guy, but he is a tough son of a gun. And, you know, Eli Manning already a couple of times here on this possession has gone to the ground. And that's one of the things that they're hoping to avoid. They feel that although Carolina has been very, very good in pass defense, if given protection, the Giants feel that they can make some plays with their passing game.
That's 6 straight passes after 2 runs to start the day offensively, and Nix is forced out of bounds by Marshall. John Fox is in his 8th year with the Carolina Panthers. He has kept this team playing. They started out this season 0-3. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's taken this franchise to the playoffs 3 times, 2 NFC Championship games, and 1 time to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Patriots after the 2003 season. 2nd and 4.
East Turbo! East Turbo! Yo, feed it to the mic!
Hand off to Jacobs. To the 29, 3rd down coming up. Gain of just a couple for number 27.
You know, you talk about John Fox and, you know, the rough start that they got to and what he has accomplished since he's been the head coach. You know, in a lot of ways, not that it's ever easy. We certainly know that it's very difficult to be a head coach in any league. Of course, Urban Meyer stepping down with some of the stress-related health issues that he's going through. But John Fox is probably doing, in a lot of ways, his best coaching job. And people may shake their head at that, but to keep this team playing when they got knocked out of the playoffs and climb out of a hole, it's been impressive.
Here's Bradshaw on the carry, and he's got another first down. And again, Troy, you saw the same thing I did last week. The play calling by Gilbride. The Redskins didn't know where the Giants were coming from the first 2 possessions last week. They got up 14-0 on a bad ball club, put them away, and they're trying to do that here today against a Carolina team that's not in the playoff picture.
Well, it's true about a lot of teams, but certainly is with the New York Giants, that when they score on their first possession, they generally go on and have great success the rest of the afternoon.
Play action from Manning as all day. End zone. Smith. What a start for the Giants. Touchdown. But flags are down at the 33, and it's coming back. Smith wide open.
Holding. Offense. Number 39. 10-yard penalty. First down.
They get the fullback, Madison Hedgecock, with a hold.
You see Madison Hedgecock. There he goes. You see him there throwing digs to the ground. But watch the route here by Steve Smith. At the top of this route right here, he sticks it to the post, and then he's going to come back on the corner and just does an excellent job there on the safety, Charles Godfrey, which created the separation. You see Eli Manning, boy, for a quarterback, when you get that kind of play, everything drawn up the way that you hope and you deliver. You hate to see the yellow flag.
Last week it was a 16-play 80-yard drive that covered 9+ minutes on the clock at Washington. So far a 10-play drive, 44 yards in over 6 minutes. Dump it off to Bradshaw, picking his way to the 30. Gain of 6.
Go back and look at that touchdown throw that got called back. This is the toughest throw to make on the field here at Giants Stadium. When you're going this direction and you have to throw into this corner, that's where that wind typically comes out of. So you can see where the ball held up a little bit on him, but because Steve Smith ran such a good route. But Eli Manning knew exactly where he was going. It was perfectly executed. And Eli, knowing that he had to drive it because of a pretty strong wind right in his face.
Manning has started out 7 for 7. Manning steps up, good pocket pass, incomplete. Beeson on the coverage of Kevin Boss. There isn't a flag on the field, and Coughlin stomps his way down inside the 25, screaming for a penalty flag. It's 3rd and 14.
Well, that was close. We saw Boss there on the crossing route. Beeson picks him up, but Boss really didn't do anything to create any type of separation. You do see Beeson's right hand there, on the arm of Boss. Great protection that time up front afforded Eli Manning.
3rd down and 14. Giants are 3 for 3 on 3rd down on this drive. All day, pass complete. Manningham loses the ball. Carolina takes over. It's a catch and fumble by Mario Manningham, knocked out by Wesley and recovered by James Anderson. So a promising drive, and that was enough yardage for a Giants 1st down. 12-play drive for the Giants comes up with nothing because of the Manningham fumble, and now Matt Moore goes down. A loss of 2 on the sack. Justin Tuck and Chris Canty in there to make the play.
Really good route right here by Mario Manningham, and he pushes up, he comes in, he picks up the 1st down. And you've got to know, when you're playing against Carolina or a team like them, they have spent the entire year creating takeaways, and John Beeson's the one who knocks it out. He should have seen that guy coming in to make the play, and Eli Manning obviously very frustrated, getting the ball in his hands. 1st down, and they come away with nothing.
2nd down and 12, and the handoff is to Jonathan Stewart, who bounces it to the outside. Made the most of it. Yeah, we'll talk about that, Kurt, after this 3rd and 4 play. No flags are thrown. That's Stewart out of the backfield, and he's got a Carolina 1st down. Goff forced him out after a gain of 6. We look at the starting lineup for Carolina, and there has been movement, injury, replacements all year long up front, protecting the quarterback. As we mentioned at the top, 11 players on IR for this Carolina franchise. And there's a look at the offensive line now, with Schwartz getting his 2nd straight start for the injured Otah at right tackle. 1st down, Carolina. And the handoff for 4 yards over the right side to Mike Goodson. And we look at the defense. And after the defense, we'll go over that playoff situation for the Giants. The changes up front with Kiwanuka and Canty sliding in as starters. Umanura has been more of a pass rush specialist, and Fred Robbins has gone to the bench. The secondary's banged up. Webster's out with a knee. Aaron Ross out with a hamstring. Thomas and Dockery the starting cornerbacks. 2nd and 6. Quick setup by Moore, and the pass over the head of Steve Smith. Basically, the Giants need to win out and then have either Dallas or Green Bay lose just 1 game to make the playoffs. Giants have not won 2 straight since early October at the end of their 5-game winning streak to start the year. It's 3rd and 6. Penalty flags on the play. Moore floats it out of the reach of Rosario, the tight end. And this is against the Giants. Justin Tuck came across early.
And offside, defense, number 91, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Justin Tuck is very visibly upset with himself. You can see him at the bottom of the screen here. It's the 2nd time. It's the 1st time that he got caught, but earlier on that 3rd down conversion, I thought they could have called it on him as well. He got into the neutral zone on that play. And Justin Tuck and these other guys, Osi Umenyiora, you talk about him being a pass rushing specialist. They've done a much better job in recent games getting pressure on the quarterback. And Matt Moore, like Eli, using snap count.
Handoff for a 1st down to the fullback Brad Hoover. Plows ahead for 2, and it's a fresh set of downs for Carolina.
Well, the big thing, if you look at Carolina here over the last few games and what they've been able to do with Matt Moore as the quarterback, they've done a much better job protecting the football. And the fact that Carolina is now at a -1 turnover ratio is pretty remarkable, because at one time this year they were -14 because of all the interceptions and the turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. But they've protected it here the last 2 weeks.
Stewart right side, penalty flag comes in, and Thomas makes the play on Stewart behind the line of scrimmage. Again, a flag is down, a loss of 5 as it stands right now on the carry by Stewart. And with Scott Green going to Tom Coughlin, Coughlin has to make the decision. Does he want 2nd and 15, or does he want to accept the penalty and give Carolina a first down again?
Holding. Offense number 68. Penalty is declined. 2nd down.
So instead of 1st and 20, Tom Coughlin wants 2nd and 15. Kedrick Vincent was guilty of the hold.
Well, you can tell this New York Giant defense, they put on such a dominant performance last week against the Washington Redskins. They're trying to carry that in to this ball game, and they have been pretty aggressive. Of course, that's one of the reasons they got Justin Tuck to jump, but they have given him a lot of different looks already on this drive.
On 2nd and 15, Matt Moore with play action down the middle for Muhammad, and Muhsin Muhammad to the Giants 35. Good throw by Matt Moore, 27-yard completion, and that is a season long for Muhsin Muhammad.
Well, they're playing cover 2, and so Dockery kind of lets him go, and then that's the hole within that cover 2 zone is over the middle of the ball, and Muhsin Muhammad, who's not going to threaten a lot of people down the field, but he's pretty precise still in running routes in what is his 14th year in the NFL.
There's the season for Muhammad. On first down, handoff is to Goodson, and Goodson's got nowhere to go. Got a half yard, and Jonathan Goff, the middle linebacker, made the stop. A lot of key people are not playing today, and now as we say that, safety Michael Johnson can't get up. D'Angelo Williams is out for Carolina. Gross, Davis. Both those players are on IR, and for the Giants, Johnson got up and jogged off the field. It's 2nd down and 9. It's been a long drive. First possession for the Panthers after the fumble by Manningham. Second down and 9. Moore rolls to his right, hits Steve Smith, who gets popped out of bounds by Dockery. A gain of 4.
Matt Moore initially came into the league as with the Dallas Cowboys. He got released. I think they were hoping that they'd be able to get him to clear waivers and bring him back. They liked what he showed them when he was in their training camp, and he landed here in Carolina, had some starts at the end of last year, did a pretty decent job, and got his opportunity here this year because of the injury to Jake Delhomme. But what we saw of him there, moving the pocket, they like to get him out on the edge. He throws the ball pretty well on the move.
3rd down and 5. Blitz coming. Carolina picks it up, and now Matt Moore picks up a first down. Gets it inside the 25. Kiwanuka on the stop, but a gain of 6.
This was a real concern of Tom Coughlin's coming into this ball game, because even though the Giants had done a pretty good job in recent weeks of stopping the run, they had given up some big yardage last week in that win over the Washington Redskins, and they did not want Matt Moore being able to escape the pocket because they know that he's a mobile guy. Good block there by Steve Smith. He's one of those guys that will continue to play even once the play is not coming to him.
Here's Stewart. There's nowhere to go, so he'll try this side. What a good effort by Tuck. He did not quit on the play, and a loss of 1 as Justin Tuck made the tackle.
Great effort play there by Justin Tuck, and something that we've grown accustomed to seeing from him for the last couple of years. I know this has been somewhat of a frustrating year for him, as it has been for a number of these defensive linemen for the New York Giants, but this is just a great effort play right here, coming from behind and continuing to play, and then making the tackle on the backside.
2nd down and 11. Here's Stewart again. Down inside the 20 to the 19-yard line, a gain of 6.
Hey, this Jonathan Stewart I really like, and it's a shame that we're not able to watch D'Angelo Williams run as well. He's one of the best running backs in all of football. Jonathan Stewart getting his opportunity to start again this week, and you know, the times that he has been the starter this year, he's been awfully productive. He's regarded as the more powerful of the two, but he's also a pretty elusive guy, and we've seen he's got some great quickness to him as well.
3rd down and 5. Again, they move the pocket. Moore has nowhere to go and now floats it out of the reach of Johnson, who was the closest player to it. Michael Johnson, the starting free safety, and it's 4th down.
Well, when the Carolina Panthers are going to throw the ball, they're typically going to throw it to Steve Smith. He lines up in the slot, and the Giants know that, so they're going to get some people around him. And you see all those blue jerseys corralling Steve Smith and not allowing him to get the ball thrown to him. You know, this is a Carolina team that does not have a lot of offensive weapons, to say the least. And when they throw it, 89 is probably more times than not where the ball's going.
38-yard try by John Casey. Good snap, good hold, good kick. I'm sure this is an emotional day for some in attendance here at Giant Stadium. Maybe longtime season ticket holders who can't afford to go next door as the Giants play in what is most likely their final home game here at this stadium before moving across the parking lot. Under a minute to play. Reese Lloyd kicks it away, and this one will head out of the back of the end zone. So for the Giants again, they need to win out and hope that either the Green Bay Packers or Dallas Cowboys lose one of their 2 remaining games. They could also lose today or next week and hope that the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers lose each of their last 2 games. That's another way in. As Steve Smith makes the catch, 13 yards and a 1st down for the Giants. The NFC East, the Eagles are on top. They play later today at home against Denver. The Dallas Cowboys are 9-5. They play tonight at Washington. The Giants are next Sunday at the Vikings. There's a way that the Giants could even be eliminated today if they lose to the Carolina Panthers and both Dallas and Green Bay win their games. They're out. Team that was the #1 seed a year ago. To be in line to head to the playoffs with the right combination of things to happen over the last 2 weeks of the regular season, while the Carolina Panthers try and play spoiler here today as Jacobs carries on 2nd down over the right side, gets 2. John Beeson on the tackle for Carolina. 3rd down coming up.
Yeah, the early going of this game, the Giants have had their success moving the ball through the air, and you know, somewhat surprising because prior to last week's game against Minnesota, of course Carolina did a great job against Adrian Peterson in that group, but prior to that, the previous 5 weeks, they were giving up over 160 yards in rushing offense, and the Giants here in the early going have not had much success on the ground.
81 key.
3rd down and 9. Manning is down, ripped down to the ground by Beeson, the middle linebacker. And for Beeson, his 3rd sack of the season, it forces a punt on 4th down.
Well, initially Eli had some time to get rid of the ball. Here's Beeson right here, and you know, he's able to navigate the people up front, and Eli doesn't see him coming, but it was a pretty good pocket there, and he had time to get rid of the football. There was just nowhere for him to throw it, and then by the time Beeson gets on him, he can't do anything with it.
So Fiegels hits the punt. Waiting for it is Munnerlyn, and he muffed it. Is he able to get back on top of it? He is. So Carolina will keep it. 4th consecutive start for Matt Moore, who has shown the ability to move the ball as Stewart climbs his way for a 6-yard gain, and we go back to the defensive play.
Well, we've seen this a few times now. Obviously, the Giants are paying a lot of attention to Julius Peppers. You got 2 guys on him there, and then Sean O'Hara, the center, is also providing a little bit of help, which is why Beeson then is able to navigate, those bodies and come around untouched. They're chipping on Julius Peppers, and they're putting 2 guys on him. They're doing everything they can not to allow him to be as disruptive as what he was a week ago.
Blitz coming from the Giants. They timed that well as Boley came across to make the play. A loss of 2, where Seattle is now trailing to the Packers 14-0. It's 3rd and 6 here. Fake the handoff. Moore throws. Pass is complete to Smith, and he's got a first down. Steve Smith is good for 13 yards after he got around Dockery, and a first down for Carolina.
The Giants brought linebacker Michael Boley off the slot, and they picked that up pretty good. And then once Steve Smith gets the ball in his hands, Dockery, you just got to be able to make the tackle. That's not easy to do. Steve Smith, one of the most elusive wide receivers in all of football, but that's the challenge. They're going to throw it short. You got to be able to come up and make the tackle.
Carolina now 4 for 5 on 3rd down in this game. The handoff is to Goodson, and he's to the 45-yard line, a gain of 3. And it should be obvious by now that, as the Vikings found out last week, the Giants are finding out in the first half today. The Carolina Panthers are here to play and try and win this game and spoil, it could be, the season for the Giants if they can beat New York here this afternoon.
I think the hardest time for any team that's knocked out of the playoffs is during the week. It's hard to get emotionally ready during the week, practice time, but once you hit the field, I mean, you're playing as hard as you ever would.
Moore throws. Receiver fell down, Steve Smith, and a flag is thrown as Dockery went over his back. Smith lost his footing, and they throw a flag.
Well, that's what it looked like to me. Steve Smith will stumble coming out of this, and Dockery then they tangled up.
Defense, number 35. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Yeah, that to me looked like it was more incidental contact than anything. You go back to that fumble by Mario Manningham, and the Giants are driving and probably come away with a touchdown on that drive, and it has definitely taken on a different tone since that fumble.
Oh yeah, and that followed the touchdown throw to Smith. It was called back on a hold by Madison Hedgecock as Stewart carries it inside the 30, a gain of 7. Again, the Giants could be eliminated at the end of the day today, and then we'll put this to bed until the second half. If they lose here today and both Green Bay and Dallas wins, but you won't know Dallas's situation until tonight as they play at Washington. 2nd and 3. Hand off to Stewart, room to run. A lot of room to run. Gets a block from Steve Smith for the touchdown. A 29-yard touchdown run for Stewart, his 9th touchdown rushing of the season.
Kedrick Vincent here, he's going to make the block, and you're going to see then he's got Brad Hoover who's leading the way, and then Stewart is the one who comes off of that block one-on-one then on the safety, and it's just no match. I mean, untouched right through the center of the offensive line, and good blocking all the way around.
Steve Smith took care of Aaron Rouse, and once that block took place, it was a 29-yard touchdown scamper by Jonathan Stewart. It's 10-0 Carolina. Dominic Hickson bobbles it, picks it up, and can't get to the 20. In fact, is lucky to get to the 15. Now starting at their own 15, Manning has protection and fires. It's dropped by Hakeem Nicks. So it's now 2nd down and 10, and we welcome you inside our broadcast booth. And I know we already said it, but it bears repeating. Not only is the Carolina offense able to move the ball, but the defense looks like it's here to play against this Giants offense.
Well, right now, I mean, for a team that has so much to play for, the New York Giants, I mean, I just don't see a lot of energy coming from them on either side of the ball. Of course, a big letdown, as we talked about, with the fumble there by Mario Manningham. But defensively, you know, you kind of expected them to come out and play the way that they did a week ago in that Monday night game against the Washington Redskins. So far, we've not seen it.
Hand off to Bradshaw on 2nd and 10, and he loses 3. Diggs on the stop. Packers stumbling, blowing that late lead last week at Pittsburgh. Still in good shape at the moment in the playoff race in the NFC. 3rd and 13. Manning throws, and incomplete from Manningham. So it's a 3-and-out for the Giants offense, and they kind of slump off the field as they're about to punt it back to Carolina.
Well, they had a chance there to Mario Manningham, 3rd and long. You're not going to convert too many of those, but they were able to get Manningham in behind the corner and then in front of the safety versus that cover 2 zone, and Eli just was unable to hit him with it.
So another punt from Fiegels. Munnerlyn on his side of the 50. 3rd Panthers possession. They've come away with a field goal and a touchdown. Moore completes it to Hoover, the fullback. Lowers his shoulder and runs right through Thomas for a 12-yard gain and a 1st down.
You see Brad Hoover. You don't see many of these types of players in the league anymore, true fullbacks, but he's a versatile player. He can also catch the ball, as we saw, and you know, generally those fullbacks, they want contact even at all costs. They're so used to trying to make a key block on a lead block for those tailbacks. They look for it even in the open field.
Giants defense needs a stop as Stewart stays upright and carries it down inside the 30. One of those games may be taken by NBC. Not sure about that yet, as Moore throws, moving to his right. He hits Steve Smith, and Smith is good for 3. He's a yard shy of a 1st down. Dockery on the stop for New York.
Hey, right now, Jeff Davidson, the offensive coordinator, calling a good game. They bring Danny Clark, the linebacker, the Giants do, and Matt Moore with a good call by him. They're able to then move the pocket and get the completion there to Steve Smith. Jeff Davidson, I mean, this is not a real complicated offense. They're either going to line up in 2 tight ends or 2 backs or both. Rarely do they line up in 3 wide receivers, quite frankly, because they don't have 3 wide receivers, but they've gotten the most out of this group.
Here is Stewart, and he's down to the 25. It's a 5-yard gain, and the Giants now have allowed 19 of 20 3rd down and 1 conversions this season. The defense not able to hold here, and it's 1st down Carolina.
Right now, I mean, this offensive line for the Carolina Panthers is just doing a number up front against the Giants defensively, and a lot of changes a couple of weeks ago were made along that defensive front to help solidify the run defense. Matthias Kiwanuka being one of those changes.
On 1st down, the handoff is to Goodson. This time the Giants defense makes a play. A gain of 1. Danny Clark was there to make the stop for the Giants.
You know, these fans, Joe, they showed up here today for a celebration. You know, the last Giants game that'll be played here at Giants Stadium, and of course all that rides on this game and then next week's game to get into postseason, of course needing some help. But you could feel it when you went out on the field in pregame warmups how excited this crowd was. But you know, based on the play of the Giants, they just had very little to cheer about.
2nd down and 9. Hoover at tailback, and he gets the ball from Matt Moore, moving to his right. He gets 2. Rocky Bernard on the tackle for the Giants. A big 3rd down coming up here for this New York defense. 3rd down and 7. John Fox, who was the defensive coordinator for the Giants 1997 to 2001. Coordinator of the defense who went to the Super Bowl 35 and lost to Baltimore. Third down and 7. Moore floats it for Muhammad. Touchdown Carolina. He beat Terrell Thomas, gave him a little shove at the end just before he made his move for the football, and just like that, it's 16-0 with the extra point coming.
You're going to see this route. Musa Muhammad at the top of it. Perfectly thrown ball. The separation right there. As soon as Terrell Thomas turns to look for the ball, that's then when the separation occurred for Musa Muhammad. Matt Moore delivers this perfectly on the sidelines. Musa Muhammad does a good job of squeezing Terrell Thomas, giving his quarterback a place to throw the ball. Great execution.
Now this from Casey to make it 17-0. Wondering what has hit the Giants here in the first half. It's 17-0 Carolina. Hickson from inside the 5. Dominic Hickson is out to the 22, and we go back to the touchdown to Muhammad.
Well, Carolina did a good job picking up the linebacker Michael Boley right here off the edge, and that then gives you one-on-one outside. And Terrell Thomas has been playing excellent. In fact, probably coming off his best game of the season, but just a perfectly thrown ball there by Matt Moore.
So now the Giants start at their own 22. They need a score here at the end of the half, and it needs to be 7. That's a feeling you get as Brandon Jacobs carries over the right side. And Jacobs gets a yard. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Oh, well, Joe, a very aggravated Eli Manning came off the field after that last 3 and out for the offense, and he had a message. He walked up and down the bench, offered a pep talk to his offensive teammates. He urged that group to wake up and get their heads in the game. Time to start making plays, he noted. He also added he's tired of what he's seeing. Back to you.
Well, if you look at his day, 9 out of 12. If you look at Jacobs on the ground, 5 carries for 2 yards. The ground game is producing nothing for the Giants. 11 total rush yards in the half, and here's an interception by Marshall. So now Eli Manning, who had the lecture for his teammates on the sideline, throws the interception, his 12th of the season, and he puts it into the arms of Richard Marshall.
Yeah, Richard Marshall's physical at the line of scrimmage right there with Steve Smith. Steve kind of had him. Looked like Richard Marshall may have pulled on him a little bit, got away with a little bit of a hold, but a ball that was thrown behind Steve Smith, and then that's why Richard Marshall was able to make the play. If you get that ball out in front, Steve Smith still has an opportunity to catch that one.
So that's 2 Giants turnovers here in the first half. That's 15 forced by this Carolina defense over the last 5 games, and up 17-0. Panthers take over at the Giants 29. Moore underneath hits Jonathan Stewart, and Stewart rumbles for a first down.
I'm gonna go back and take another look at this route and see if Marshall maybe got away with a grab. You're going to see his right hand, and Steve Smith gets inside, and does he? Yeah, right there. Looks like he grabbed him just enough to slow him down. You know, that should not have had an impact on the throw, though, by Eli Manning. But it certainly allowed Richard Marshall to close on that a little bit sooner than what he otherwise would have been able to.
First down, Carolina. Again, it's Stewart.
Come on, come
Danny
on.
Clark makes the play after a gain of 1. So the Giants coming off that win, just blowing out Washington in Washington last week, rolling into this game. It's all laid out in front of them. They know what they have to do, having to get some help. And here in the first half, after a promising start with that opening possession, 12 plays, the fumble by Manningham after a catch, and it's been all Carolina. 2nd and 9, and Stewart is swallowed up. First guy there was Johnson, but he was with Cofield and others. Loss of 2.
Well, you know, in talking with Tom Coughlin the other day, and you know, asking him, hey, how do you feel? Several of the players this week came out and said that they felt the same kind of energy, the same kind of vibe that they had at the end of the 07 season. The Giants are locked up in man-to-man coverage once again here on 3rd down.
The throw is to Goodson, and Goodson has enough for a first down. So on 3rd down and 11, it's a conversion for a first down, a gain of 14 yards.
You watch Musa Muhammad. He's been doing this his entire career. He gets on Terrell Thomas and just drives him all the way back, and there's not contact made. until he's able to pick up the first down. Just great execution out in front. I'll tell you right now, I'm impressed with what I've seen of the Carolina Panthers.
First down and goal. The handoff is to Stewart. Running right through this Giants defense. He picks up 5. Kiwanuka eventually holds him up. And it's second and goal.
I mean, you just think about it, Joe, for the New York Giants. If you are a playoff team and you're all the things that you say that you are and that you think that you are, then this is a game you win. You know, you don't come into a game like this against a team that is knocked out of the playoffs and you have so much riding on it, a chance to close out your stadium and stay alive in the playoff hunt and just not show up. And here through the first 30 minutes of this game, this Giants team just hasn't shown up.
Second down and goal, and Moore flips it wide open for the touchdown is Jeff King. Absolutely nobody around him, and it's 23-0 with the extra point coming. .221 left in the half, and Eli Manning will head back to work after throwing the interception, which leads to 7 Panthers points. And for Carolina, 3 consecutive touchdown drives. The latest, a touchdown throw to Jeff King, his 3rd touchdown of the season. And it's 24-0. Trying to go to 3-1 over these 4 consecutive starts. Last week, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, threw for 299 yards against the Vikings. On the return, it's Gartrell Johnson. And he gets knocked around when he gets to the 26-yard line. Gary Barnidge on the stop. Sen was in there as well. We look at the division leaders. Saints trying to wrap up home field advantage today. They lead Tampa Bay. Minnesota 11-3. Philadelphia plays later today than Arizona. You look at the wild card leaders, and the Giants are 8-6, certainly alive, but in big trouble here today at home.
Well, it's a huge possession here for the New York Giants right before the half.
Manning goes down in the arms of Julius Peppers. In a slow developing play, Julius Peppers ends up with a sack and a loss of 12. Well, in their 84-year history, the Giants have never come back from a 24-point deficit. They trailed 24-0. 2 minutes left in the half. Last 4 times they've had the ball, including this drive, minus 9 yards of offense. Over the middle, it's Kevin Boss. And Boss will take it out to the 21, a gain of 7.
Well, Boss had to give help on Julius Peppers, and so he's then a little bit late getting out into the route. That's why he's not getting further down the field on that completion. You got to be real careful here giving the ball back to Carolina with a lot of time the way they've moved it.
Damian Lewis never got off the field. The pass is well short of first down yardage to Boss on 3rd down. And now Carolina will take a timeout. Damian Lewis was sprinting to get off the field. He's now back on the field. The ball was snapped with Lewis getting off, but not fully out of bounds yet. No penalty flag is thrown, and now Carolina spends their 2nd timeout. Watch Damian Lewis, and he did not get off the field before the ball was snapped, but no flag.
You see Eli trying to get the ball snapped. I think he was trying to get it snapped because of that, but to go into to stay in the no huddle and the hurry up with 3rd and long, knowing that in all likelihood you're not going to pick up that first down and then give the ball back to Carolina with this much time on the clock, I don't think that was very good time management by the Giants.
Line drive punt by Fiegels, a chance for a return maybe for Munnerlyn, who will turn in a decent one out just shy of the 40. A 12-yard return.
You look at the Giants offensively, they've become one-dimensional. I mean, they've run the ball for about 11 yards in the first half. So they've got to throw it. They can't use the play action. That puts a real burden on these young offensive linemen that are making, that are playing, that haven't had a lot of playing time. It's going to continue in the second half.
How about Muhammad, who can't hang on? He has a touchdown in this game, had the ball in his hands. Pretty good throw by Matt Moore, but incomplete. 2nd and 10.
Well, another perfect throw by Matt Moore. He lays this one right out into the breadbasket, and Musa Muhammad has an opportunity, and if he catches that ball, they're right back in field goal range.
Got behind Bruce Johnson, the rookie, free agent out of Miami. Johnson had his left hand on the right arm of Muhammad. No call. 2nd down and 10. Pass is complete to Kenneth Moore, and Kenneth Moore is forced out after a gain of 7.
I think Antonio Pierce has been a guy who's been missed for several weeks.
Now on 3rd down and 3, it's a 1st down carry for Stewart. A gain of 11, and now the Panthers are 8 of 9 on 3rd down. They're coming into this game just 36% on 3rd down for the season. And you look at the total yards and just the statistical domination by Carolina in this game.
And so much of that yardage of the 77 yards for New York came on that first possession. And you talked about it, Joe. I mean, the touchdown to Steve Smith that got called back, a perfectly thrown and well executed play. And then the fumble by Mario Manningham, and they've done nothing since that drive.
Carolina just used their last timeout. 59 seconds remain in the half. Jonathan Stewart has 74 yards rushing and a touchdown, and Matt Moore is 11 for 14. Trying to back up that great game against the Vikings, and throws it away with heavy pressure by Aaron Rouse. Moore just able to get rid of it. Told you the numbers for Matt Moore. 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stewart 74 yards rushing, and Muhammad 2 catches, one of them a touchdown. And this great start and terrific half for Carolina.
And they've done a pretty good job on Steve Smith. He's got 3 catches in this ball game, but the longest reception only going for 11 yards. But Musa Muhammad, talked about, he's not really known for having much speed, but yet he's been able to get behind these defensive backs now a couple of times, the one time for the touchdown.
Now delay a game.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Crowd applauds that. Ball actually went backward, and now as I check the scores, Green Bay is up on Seattle 21-0. Pittsburgh leading Baltimore as the Steelers are still breathing thanks to that 503-yard passing day by Roethlisberger last week against the Packers. Second down and 15, and Rosario, the tight end, was the intended target by Moore. Kiwanuka had pressure, and Canty was on Rosario, who he knocked to the ground. It's 3rd and 15.
Well, if the Giants are able to make a stop here, and if they then go in at halftime, down 24-0, it's not insurmountable. We've seen that they've never been able to overcome this kind of deficit in the history of the team. But they will have to do things a little differently. They'll go into the hurry-up offense and try to get as many snaps as they can. But it's, in addition to the offense, going to come down to this defense making some key stops.
Just a 4-man rush, and Tuck makes the play on Hoover. It's 4th down. And the Giants will spend their 2nd timeout.
And the crowd kind of likes that stop. I said they came into this stadium wanting to have a celebration, and it was one of the few things they've been able to get excited about.
Well, that was an about time cheer by this crowd at Giants Stadium. The Giants have called home since 1976. And so many of the great ex-players who have worn Giants uniforms over the years came back for this final Giants home game, and we'll show you some of the people who came back to the stadium. They have seen an awful first half for New York. First punt of the day by Baker, and a fair catch hauled in by Hickson. Manning comes underneath, and the pass is dropped by Bradshaw. And that wasn't going to do anything anyway. They've got to try and get down the field. They have only one timeout remaining, and now 33 seconds on the clock.
I'll tell you what, I can only imagine what Tom Coughlin's going to have to say to this team when they go in at halftime.
Second down and 10. This is a Carolina defense. Came in 13th ranked in the NFL. Playing better of late. And the Giants are finding that out. Here is a screen for Boss. And Boss has a first down. But that play forces the Giants to use their final timeout with 22 seconds left. The ball is still inside their own 25-yard line. Talk about the turnovers forced by this Carolina defense. 15 over the last 5 games. You said earlier this is a franchise and a team that was minus 14 in the turnover ratio, and they're now +1. What a comeback in that statistical department, with 2 in this game.
Well, they've done a heck of a job. I mean, this season got off to a tough start for them right from the beginning. They've been fighting uphill ever since, but you know, playing as well as they have played here in this game and last week, when you're knocked out of postseason contention, I think says a lot for the character of these players.
Manning throws, has Smith, and he's up to midfield. The clock will continue to wind. Good job by the Giants to get to the line, and with 9 seconds remaining and no timeouts, it'll be 2nd and 10 as we go back to the completion of 27 yards to Smith.
Carolina runs their prevent defense, and they take away anything to the outside to keep the receiver from being able to catch the ball and get out of bounds. They know that they've got the clock on their side, so they give up a big play up the seam. But right now, the only chance that the Giants have is to catch this ball and then get out of bounds. Anything with the clock running and time will run out.
Manning steps up, throws it incomplete, and well covered downfield. That was Chris Harris on the back of Nix. And now 2 seconds remain, and it's Hail Mary time as the Giants hope for some stroke of luck here before the end of the half.
Yeah, that's the only chance they've got. They're not going to be able to do anything other than that, and they'll get them down there in the goal or in the end zone and see if Eli has enough arm strength to get it in there for him.
Throwing it with the wind at his back and with Peppers on his back. He's already across the line of scrimmage, and there's nothing to do except lateral it. Peppers is there for Carolina, and he's tackled. That's the end of the half. A dominant half by the Carolina Panthers, and this crowd lets the Giants have it.
Well, it's going to take a total team effort, there's no doubt. I mean, offensively, obviously they've got to score points here in this second half, but most importantly, the defense is going to have to play a lot better and not just give up points, but they're going to have to be able to shut them down and get the ball back into their offense's hands.
Goodson on the return. Goodson a full head of steam, can't get to the 30. Hickson on the stop and down to the field, and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, it was a very quiet march to the locker room as Giants entered the locker room in a state of stunned silence. Tom Coughlin came out and he greeted me with this. He said, you know what, I got nothing good to tell you. We're not playing well. We're not playing with any kind of spark. He said, if I would have thought that we would have had this kind of turnout, especially after last week's game, and he thought they'd come in with a whole lot more energy, he said, I would have told you were crazy. Defensively, he said, if we can just get a turnover early, we may be able to turn this around. Back to you.
Okay, Pam. Tom Coughlin keeps talking about ascending at this time of the year. Thought they were on the start toward an ascension last week. Here is a pass that is complete to Steve Smith somehow in the mess of all those bodies. A 14-yard completion. They get the win last week at Washington, and here today they've been run over by Carolina.
Well, pretty impressive for Carolina to come right out of the box throwing the football, not looking to just run the ball and take time off the clock. You know, in addition to maybe a turnover, the Giants need a quick stop, a 3 and out. It's not going to happen on this possession now, but they need something big to happen, whether that's defensively or a key stop here and then a big play offensively, but something in order to ignite this team.
Handoff is to Stewart, and a good play is made by Tuck. No gain.
I mean, as you know, you're battling the clock, and if Carolina is able to methodically move the ball and milk time off this clock, even if they don't score points, it is going to be challenging for the New York Giants to get back into this ball game with a chance to win. And that's why the defense, not only can they not give up points, but they can't give up possessions to where these guys are taking 5-6 minutes off the clock.
Second down and 10, and it's Stewart over the left side. Johnson can't bring him down. Rouse can't bring him down. Terrible tackling by New York, and for Stewart, a 30-yard run, his longest of the day.
You called it, Joe. A lot of poor tackling there outside on the edge. Some opportunities to get him to the ground. They bounced this to the outside, and there's some of the speed that Jonathan Stewart has, but a missed tackle right here. I tell you, there's a lot of guys for New York defensively walking back to the huddle shaking their heads.
Stewart's now over 100 yards for the 3rd time in the last 4 games. The NFC Offensive Player of the Week after going over 100 against the Vikings last Sunday night. Here's Smith, survives the hit and has a touchdown. Johnson couldn't bring him down, and Steve Smith somehow stayed on his feet, and he has a touchdown, his 7th of the season.
Well, what can you say? All that was discussed in there at halftime by Tom Coughlin and those coaches, and Carolina, they just kept the pedal to the metal and came right out and mixed it up. Big time throw by Matt Moore and a poor tackle on Michael Johnson's part.
Steve Smith now is being carted off. He got that hit from Michael Johnson. Injured his forearm. Probably seen the last of Steve Smith today as Hickson crosses the 25-yard line, and we've welcomed you inside our booth a couple of times today, and quite simply, I didn't see this coming. I am shocked at what I'm witnessing down on the field in front of us so far this afternoon.
Well, I certainly didn't, and nor did Tom Coughlin or anybody that's here watching this game. And you know, it's such a dominant performance last week against the Washington Redskins. Everybody thought there'd be some carryover. Why, I'm not real sure, because they haven't been able to put back-to-back games together, you know, in quite some time. But yet you felt that coming in here today that it would be a much better performance than what we've seen. Hats off to Carolina and the job that they've done on both sides of the ball.
Ahmad Bradshaw over the right side, coming off his block to make the tackle. Tyler Brayton, a gain of only 1.
You know, as much as the Giants would like to run the football, that's gone now. I mean, they're in a mode right now to where I'm surprised that they're even huddling up. I mean, they need to get something going. There's got to be some urgency. If they're going to have any opportunity to get back into this, they've got to create some big plays in the passing game. And then certainly if their defense fails to make any stops like, you know, they haven't been able to do, it doesn't matter what they do offensively anyway.
2nd down and 9. There's just nothing down the field for Eli Manning. So again, he comes underneath the boss. A gain of 2. Richard Marshall on the stop. You talk about John Fox and what you do when things aren't going your way. You go back to the 2004 season. After the Super Bowl year, John Fox's Panthers started 1-7, and he coached them to a 7-9 finish. And here they are with a chance to finish 500 by the end of the year. Manning throws, the pass complete to Smith, and that's good enough for a 1st down.
Yeah, well, I said it earlier in the game, Joe, that you know, a lot of things have happened, and this Carolina team is very frustrated. Last year, a 12-4 team gets knocked out in the divisional round, their first game in the playoffs, and they come into this year's season. They struggle against the Philadelphia Eagles, get blown out. But in a lot of ways, I think you could point to this year and say it's the best coaching job John Fox has done.
On first down over the middle, it's Steve Smith. And Smith gets a big hit as he crossed the 45 on the other side of the ball, and it's something, Troy, you and I can talk about next time the Panthers have it. But how good is Matt Moore? I mean, what he's done in back-to-back games. A guy that was waived by the Dallas Cowboys getting his chance because of the injury to Jake Delhomme. It's 31-0. 2nd and 3 for New York. Inside handoff to Bradshaw, another first down. And Ahmad Bradshaw is to the 41. 13-yard run. Tackle made by Chris Harris. There's Matt Moore, who ought to be awfully proud with what he's been able to do now in back-to-back games, and really in general since taking over as the starter for Carolina. Manning throws, and Manningham with a one-handed catch. A juggle. He corralled it, 12 yards and a first down.
That was a heck of a catch right there. You can see a ball that gets away from Eli Manning just a little bit, but Manningham's able to get his right hand out there on it and then bring it in and still keep his feet in play. You know, this is a good possession right here for the New York Giants, at least finally getting something going, and that's the biggest key, is initially having some things positive work in your favor. And if they're able to then take this thing on and get a touchdown, they may be able to start stringing something together.
Instead, Bradshaw loses the ball on the handoff, and the Giants, who have turned it over 3 times in this game, almost did so for a 4th time. Bradshaw able to get back on it, a loss of 1. It's the 3rd Giant fumble of this game. 2nd and 11. Manning steps up, completes to Smith. Steve Smith slides down right at the marker. And no signal yet, and now there is. Scott Green says first down New York.
Even with that play right there, I thought that Steve Smith, once he caught that ball, could have probably been able to get himself out of bounds. I think the players need to start being a little bit more aware of the situation that they're in and knowing that they're fighting the clock as much as they are the Carolina Panthers defense.
Manning, end zone, incomplete for Smith. Crowd down there wants a flag on Richard Marshall. They don't get it. 2nd and 10.
This Carolina secondary, I mean, if you're going to come into a game and try to move the football through the air, you know, this is not one of the better defensive secondaries to try to do that against. Now they get some help up front because of the pressure that Julius Peppers and others are able to get on the quarterback, but this defensive backfield has done a good job all year long. One of the highest rated defensive teams in pass defense.
Bradshaw nowhere to go. First guy there was Charles Johnson. Tackle made by Everett Brown, a loss of 3. Giants started this season, they won their first 5, then they lost 4 in a row. Now they've won 3 of their last 5. Steve Smith is gassed over on the sideline. It's 3rd and 13. That's the top 3rd down receiver in the NFL, standing on the sideline on 3rd down, out of breath. And Manning throws it right into the ground. Fourth down, Tynes will come on. Bradshaw, the intended receiver.
And it's challenging. Will Beatty, the right tackle, he's got his hands full over here against Johnson, and you know, he flushes Eli Manning then up inside. And so, you know, in order to try to get guys down the field, you want to release 4 and 5 receivers, but you're not really able to do that because you're keeping extra guys in to try to help with protection. And so the Giants are in a real quandary as far as that goes.
40-yard try by Tynes. It's 31-3 after the 40-yarder by Tynes, who kicks it away. Mike Goodson on the return from inside the 10. Goodson gets across the 25 to the 28. Greatest city in the world. And as they watch their hometown Giants take it on the chin here in a game that the Giants really had to have their most realistic shot at the playoffs. It's 31-3 as Stewart carries it for 3. And the first guy there was Blackburn, who's now back in at middle linebacker as the Giants have made a couple of changes defensively.
Yes, they have, and they've also put in Clint Sintum, the rookie out of Virginia, second-round pick, regarded more as a pass rushing specialist, but they've got him in here playing linebacker on first and second downs now.
Handoff is to Stewart, running right. He just does not go down, and Jonathan Stewart keeps motoring up near midfield out to the 49-yard line, an 18-yard run, and the tackling for the Giants continues to be awful.
Yeah, I don't even know that I'd call it tackling. I think it's just a bunch of shoulders that are coming in here. You see there was a missed tackle there, but nobody wraps up, and Stewart just keeps his feet going. You've got 4 Giants there in the area trying to get him to the ground, and that's been pretty much the story throughout this game. Jonathan Stewart, who got a start against Tampa Bay 3 weeks ago, rushed for over 100 yards in that game. Last week, of course, the first 100-yard rusher against the Vikings in 37 games, and went over 100 yards here in the first half.
Hoover from the tailback spot carries right through the heart of this defense to the 45. Here's Hoover again. All the way down inside the 30, and this could get ugly. An 18-yard run by Hoover. And for Brad Hoover, that's his longest of the season.
Well, Brad Hoover came into this game with only 4 rushing attempts. He now has 5. And at this pace, he's going to get a whole lot more. I mean, it's one thing if Jonathan Stewart is picking up big yardage against your defense, but when they start giving it to Brad Hoover as a changeup, and now he's knifing right through your defense, you've got some major problems. I mean, this is embarrassing right now for the New York Giants when you're talking about a Carolina team that is telling you we're going to run the ball and there's nothing you can do about it.
See 167 rushing yards for Carolina. They're averaging 6 yards per rush as Tollefson. If Green Bay wins that game over Seattle, the Giants with a loss here today would have to hope that the Cowboys, that's Muhammad with another completion on second down, to hope the Cowboys lose tonight and next week at home against Philadelphia, and the Giants would have to win at Minnesota next week to get into the playoffs.
Well, if the Giants can't win here today, they don't deserve to get in the playoffs. I mean, they've had it laid out in front of them already, and it's been talked about. And you know, the Giants are a team that's been to the playoffs the last 4 years. The only team that's done it more is the Indianapolis Colts. And this year, especially with the start that they had, beginning the year 5-0, you know, who would have thought that this would be the season that they would fail to make the postseason play?
3rd down and 4, and Stewart stays on his feet and gets a first down. The Giants cannot get a stop on 3rd down in this game. A gain of 5. And Stewart certainly looked like he fell forward enough on that last effort, and he did pick up a first down for Carolina. 3 minutes to play in the quarter.
Well, they're, you know, well over 80% conversion rate here on 3rd down, and that was an area where they had really been struggling, was on 3rd down. Carolina had been. Now last week against the Vikings, they were outstanding on 3rd down in that game, and that has carried over for them here.
Stewart left side. And brought down by Blackburn. Had that shot of Bill Sheridan, who's been under fire, first year as a defensive coordinator, taking over for Steve Spagnuolo. You thought that maybe it was lined up for this defense and Bill Sheridan in particular to build on what happened last week at the Redskins. 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, a home game against Carolina. Maybe they can make a run. The heat comes off Bill Sheridan. Well, they have landed with a thud here today defensively. Terrible tackling, and Matt Moore has guided this Panther team up and down the field on it. 2nd and 8. Hoover picks up 1.
Well, the other part of this drive right here, remember, Steve Smith is not even in the game because he has what seems to be a broken arm on the last touchdown reception. And so, you know, Muhsin Muhammad has been playing the wide receiver position. They've been playing with one wide receiver on this possession and then a couple of tight ends. So it's not like the Giants have really had to defend anything on the outside. They haven't stopped Muhsin Muhammad on the completion that he got, and they haven't been able to stop the run. I mean, never will you play against an offense that has been more predictable than what Carolina has been on this possession.
3rd down and 7. More throws. The pass is complete. Dockery loses his helmet on the tackle of Kenneth Moore, and it's 4th down. But a long drive, not only yardage wise for Carolina, but taking time off the clock, and field goal try is coming from Casey of 28 yards. He's already hit from 38. This to give the Panthers their 31-point lead back. And the Giants are in danger of having their biggest home loss with regard to a lopsided scoreboard in the history of Giant Stadium in their final game here. Well, the worst defeat at Giant Stadium for the Giants was a 35-point loss to the Dallas Cowboys in September of '95. 35-0. It's a 31-point game here as Hickson takes it out across the 35 to the 38. It's a 31-point game here, and the handoff is to Bradshaw. Bad ankles, bad foot, and all. He keeps on running. 9.5 yards for Ahmad Bradshaw. Godfrey on the stop. I know you've always come away from practices and games impressed with Ahmad Bradshaw.
Well, I mean, what he has played through with his ankles and his feet, and to play at the level he has been quite impressive.
No penalty flags as Manningham gets his feet tangled with Chris Gamble. 8 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. It's 3rd and 1.
You see Manningham going to the corner, or going to the post, and I thought that was a good non-call. You know, maybe Gamble got his right arm there on Manningham as he started to the post. And right now, I mean, if they can take some more shots up the field, of course, right now they're just looking to pick up this 1st down, but they definitely have to get some big chunks.
Toss to Bradshaw, running right, and he's got a 1st down. Stadium, which at times has been such a great home field advantage to the Giants. These great fans who get into the action. The winds that swirl through here. Here's Bradshaw over the right side, and Ahmad Bradshaw is hit by Chris Harris for a gain of 8.
Yeah, Ahmad Bradshaw has really been the case throughout the year. He's been one of the few bright spots for this Giants team today. You know, you look at this Giants season, and of course 5-0, and everybody knows it. The loss at New Orleans, didn't think much of that, but I think that loss when they came back and lost to Arizona was the one that really turned this season negative.
Here's Bradshaw for a 1st down. That's one that stands out to me. And then the game here at home against San Diego, when they were knocking on the door of a knockout blow to the Chargers, couldn't pound it in for a touchdown, which would have made a comeback impossible. Instead, it's a field goal. Phillip Rivers takes the Chargers down the field, gets the touchdown. That was one that really hurt the Giants. Here's Manningham, who breaks free from Captain Munnerlyn and takes it down inside the 15. They'll mark him just outside the 12.
A good job there by Mario Manningham in making a guy miss and then being able to get some extra yards after the catch. And I know Mario Manningham, when this game's said and done, all he's going to have on his mind is the ball he put on the ground there in that 1st possession for this Giants offense when it looked like they were well on their way for their 1st touchdown.
25-yard play to Manningham, that last one. Manning throws. There's Nix. And Hakeem Nicks is good for 10. Chris Harris on the stop for Carolina.
What a great job there by Chris Harris, coming up and making a tackle in the open field, and that's what you want to see from your safeties. You know, Hicks had a chance to, Nix had a chance to go either way. He had a two-way break there on Chris Harris, and yet Chris Harris was able to come up and make a stop and keep him from scoring the touchdown.
Here's Brandon Jacobs, and he is met behind the line of scrimmage in a loss of 1. It's now 2nd down and goal. And even here, this Carolina team, 6-8, they're not just going to let the Giants waltz into the end zone as they lead by 31.
No, you can bet on that. I mean, this is of course, John Fox with his defensive background and being here in Giant Stadium, and you talked about it, what this means to him coming back and being a part of the closing of Giant Stadium as it relates to the New York Giants, and his club has put on a show.
2nd and goal, a blitz coming, Giants pick it up, Smith, touchdown. A 2-yard touchdown throw to Steve Smith, who has his 7th of the season.
Yeah, you can see Steve Smith came down awfully hard, and he was grimacing as he left the field. They take this to the corner, a little bit similar to what they scored on, only a little bit closer in. That got called back. Steve Smith doing a good job of going up and making the catch at the highest point, and then hanging on to it when he went to the ground.
How about that? Can't get the extra point away. Hines kicks it away. Carolina was half expecting an onside kick try, and on the return it's Kenneth Moore. Steve Smith on the right with 70 yards, 7 catches, now 97 catches on the season. Brandon Jacobs is now leaving the playing field and going underneath to get looked at as Stewart carries over the right side, almost turned in a big one. As it is, he picks up 8. Steve Smith for the Giants, I mentioned 97 catches. That is already a Giants single season record, and the Giants have not had a Pro Bowl receiver since Homer Jones back in 1968. Also the top 3rd down receiver in the NFL. What a year it's been for the guy that was known as the other Steve Smith.
Well, he's an understated guy, and the guy certainly deserves to be voted into the Pro Bowl, which we'll find out next week.
2nd down and 2, and it's a 1st down carry by Stewart. Good for 3. Programs were $1. The Giants sold programs today here for $1, as Stewart just keeps going and tackles keep getting missed, and now Stewart is going to motor toward the end zone, and he will be stopped short of a touchdown by Boley.
Well, that just means they'll score on the next play.
And this is the worst tackling day we have seen by any defense this season.
Yeah, and part of it is that I think they're trying to strip the ball. So rather than coming in and wrapping them up, you're going to see at the tail end of this right there, they're trying to, yes, they want to get him to the ground, but they're also trying to get a turnover. But they haven't tackled him even when the game began. I mean, Jonathan Stewart has put on a heck of a performance. And part of that's true, and then part of it is just how bad the Giants have been on the other end.
Here is Hoover, and you were right. Touchdown, Carolina. So Hoover is in on the heels of the 52-yard run by Jonathan Stewart, who has a career-high 194 rush yards here today.
Tell you, this might be a career high for Brad Hoover, too, as far as rushing attempts. I mean, he's a guy, as I said, coming into the game, only had 4 rushing attempts on the season. He's already had more than that here in this ball game. Scored a touchdown last week on a catch. Didn't know what to do with it. And this time he acted like he had been there before, because he was there just 7 days ago.
Here's the extra point try by Casey. A lot to think about for the Giants with what's transpired here today. 41-9 Carolina leading, 9:41 left, and the Giants about to get it back. Reese Lloyd booms another one and sends Hickson out of the back of the end zone. More Giant Stadium history for you. The first game, as we mentioned, 1976 in October, a loss to the Cowboys. The most touchdown passes belongs to Phil Simms with his 110, and the most receiving yards, Amani Toomer, 5,037. A lot of that from Eli Manning, who's number 2 on that list, with 67 touchdown passes, second most in the history of Giant Stadium.
Yeah, Amani Toomer spent the first half up here in the box with us. He's going to embark on a broadcasting career. I know he'll do great.
Yep.
You know, one of the real smart players over the years, had a great career here with the Giants.
And really became a security blanket for a developing Eli Manning, as Mario Manningham makes the catch and takes it out to the 40, a 20-yard catch and run.
You know, you look at it, these teams in recent years have not played well when they've closed out their stadium. You know, think back to last year, Dallas got beat by the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, the Giants here today, and even the Eagles lost their last game at the Vet, albeit a playoff game.
Here's a pass to Kevin Boss down inside the 40. Plenty of room to run through that defense now with the defensive backs backed up. A 21-yard gain for the Giants with under 9 to play.
Yeah, Carolina's not real worried about the stats at this point in the season. It doesn't much matter, and they're playing soft, and they'll give up the underneath throws as we've seen.
Manning completes to Manningham, almost dropped it. Mario Manningham to the 25-yard line, a 14-yard catch.
I do think it's interesting, though, even though Manningham there almost dropped that one, but you know, for a unit, the wide receiver unit for the Giants being such a question mark coming into this season, you know, the performance by this team this year has not been a result of those wide receivers. They played very well all season long.
Yeah, I think you have to give credit to Mike Sullivan, the wide receivers coach. When you think about it, the Giants came into today with their wide receiver group tied for 3rd in receptions around the NFL, 4th in receiving yards, and number 1 in receptions of 25 yards or more. So that was going to be a problem area with the loss of Plaxico Burress and the aforementioned Amani Toomer, and that hasn't been the case. Here's a penalty flag as Hickson was bothered by Marshall, it appeared, and it will be illegal contact against the Panthers.
Illegal contact, defense number 31, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And there's the action.
Yeah, Hickson was trying to run an out route and then take it back to the post, and then that's when Marshall got a hold of him. But I agree. I mean, looking at the Giants, of course, they want to run the ball better than they have. They've been very inconsistent. We came into the game talking about that. But the biggest problem, what has carried this team in years past, has been the defense, specifically the front 4, and they just didn't pull their weight this year.
And just were nowhere to be found here today. Manningham with a catch on first down. This is a Giants team, by the way, that has an overall record of 10-11 since Plaxico Burress last played a game for this Giants team. It's 2nd down and 6. Manning trying to find somewhere to go. Eventually throws to Boss, and it's off his left hand.
And offensively, the Giants never really could put together another drive that even closely resembled that first one.
Here's probably a hold, but a sack nonetheless for Charles Johnson. He went right through David Deal, and Johnson comes up with a sack, his 4th of the year. Penalty flag was thrown right in that spot, and we'll see what the call is. Scott Green is our referee today. I don't think I've said his name all day. He is our referee, and he's been busy. And it's a face mask, I believe, on Deal as he was trying to block Johnson.
Grabbing the face mask, 66, offense, penalty is declined, 4th down.
Yeah, that's a good call. You see Dave Deal right there prior to Johnson getting to Eli Manning. Deal definitely had his left hand up in the face mask. You just kind of wonder after this possession here what Tom Coughlin will decide to do. I know he's as upset as he can be and what has happened here today, but you know, they still got a chance. I mean, as much as you say, well, they can't win this game, they don't deserve to get in the playoffs, but yet they could find themselves, depending on what happens in the Dallas game tonight, they could find themselves in another position to get into the playoffs with a win over Minnesota.
We'll go through that again here in a moment as the pass is caught for a first down by Derek Hagan. Had a touchdown last week against the Redskins, and on 4th down, a conversion, a completion of 21 yards.
Derek Hagan just running the comeback. Carolina was actually in a good position right there. James Anderson, the linebacker, working to get underneath it, and then he got a little bit lost in space, and then it made for an easy conversion there by Eli Manning.
Manning throws incomplete. Again, the Giants are not eliminated with a loss at the moment. They could be at the end of the day if Dallas wins tonight at Washington. By the way, the other side of that, if Dallas wins tonight at Washington, Dallas is assured a playoff spot. The Giants are out. Green Bay is taking apart Seattle. So that part of the equation is gone. But there is a way for the Giants into the playoffs, believe it or not. Bradshaw gets it. Bring up 3rd down. The Giants would have to win next week at Minnesota, and they would have to hope that the Cowboys lose tonight and next Sunday at home against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, and if the Vikings win today and the Eagles win.
Here is a pass caught by Nix, and Nix is just outside the goal line to bring up 4th down.
Yeah, if the Vikings and Eagles win, then next week is important for both those teams, because the Eagles with a win and a Vikings loss, they could get the #2 seed, which means the Vikings next week will have a lot to play for, and that could be a bigger beatdown than what this has been.
5.5 to go. 4th down. Manning has a receiver and off the hands of Hedgecock, who was wide open. Disappointment for the Giants and their fans as a 41-9 game. With 5 minutes left, the Panthers take over on downs and hand to Stewart. Stewart with a club record 198 rushing yards at the moment. The last time a team had over 200 and running back over 200 yards rushing against the Giants was 1978, and he's 2 yards away from 200, 3 yards away from over 200, and he's just been part of the story. Matt Moore's been good. Muhammad's been good. Steve Smith, the offensive line, the defense, I mean, top to bottom.
Well, I think what Carolina needs as they go into next year, they need some more playmakers on the outside. They've got one in Steve Smith, as we all know. Musa Muhammad, though, 14th year, you know, he's winding down. They need some other playmakers at the wide receiver position.
Stewart gets back to the line of scrimmage. That's it. When you think about what's happened along this offensive line this season, Wharton, who's a left tackle, started at left guard the first 9 games. Panthers lost Jordan Gross, went on IR with a broken leg. Bernardo's now at left guard, his 6th start there. That's where Wharton was. Khalil started at center all year. Same for Vincent at right guard, and then Otaw was lost to a knee injury, and Schwartz, his 2nd straight start at right tackle, and that group has done very well.
Real well, yeah. I mean, you don't rush for those kind of yards without those guys doing a good job up front. Jeff Schwartz in his first NFL start last week against Minnesota was outstanding.
And there it is, a 200+ yard day. A flag is down as Stewart is into Giants territory, but a penalty flag is down back at the 11. And it looks like this is coming back.
Coming back, and it looked like
holding. Offense, number 47, half the distance to the goal, 3rd down.
It's Jeff King. Erases a 53-yard run by Stewart.
You see Jeff King right there. He's holding Kiwanuka, or couldn't tell exactly who that was that he had the hold on. Kiwanuka it looked like, but you know, Stewart, once he was able to break that tackle there, he wasn't able to open up the way that we've seen, and then he came off the field. It looked like he might have pulled something.
Three and a half to play. Panthers have already lost receiver Steve Smith to a broken forearm.
From the run,
He might just be gassed.
I think he was. He just was like, I have no interest in trying to sprint down the field right now. It's 3rd down and 5. More from Brad Hoover. Who's got Hoover in their fantasy team?
I'm going to take him next year.
There's another flag down on what was a 1st down carry of 6 yards.
You know, Brad Hoover, it's actually not a
holding. Defense, number 95, 5 yards from the end of the run, 1st down.
It's not a career high for Hoover. He actually was the featured guy back in 2000, and career high was 24 rushing attempts, but he's gotten his share of the load here today.
He's huffing and puffing.
Yeah. So you want to be the featured tailback, huh? Better get in shape.
Stewart looks like he's ready to come back in and shoot for that 200-yard day. Handoff. More as you look at Stewart now over 200 yards. They gave him 5 yards on that last carry, even though there was a hold on that play. So 27 carries, 204 yards rushing, and he's the first to do it against the Giants since 1978.
Well, all that matters when you look at the teams around the league is what they're doing right now. And the Saints, although they have the best record, they are not playing the best football in the NFC. I think that probably goes to Philadelphia.
I would agree with you. You've got Philadelphia at the top of the list. I mean, Dallas, the way they played last week and what they did to the New Orleans Saints. 3rd down and 6, and a toss is behind running back Mike Goodson, and a play is made by Terrell Thomas that'll force 4th down, and the Giants will use their final timeout.
You know, anytime there's a season like this, there's been a lot of discussion in New York about what the future is for defensive coordinator Bill Sheridan, but there's also been a lot of speculation in Carolina about what the future of John Fox is. And you know, for a guy who's really done a heck of a job over the years, and you know, it just goes to show you, and I think John Fox has earned the right to keep his job, and they should be fortunate to have him. I've always said that, you know, making the decisions to fire certain coaches, that's the easy part, but then you got to find somebody who's going to do a better job than the guy you're letting go, and you're going to have to look long and hard to find somebody who's going to come in and do a better job than what John Fox has done over the last several seasons.
Baker hits the punt. Hickson will stay away, and not a very good punt. Checks up inside Carolina territory from boogity all the way to the end. Here comes Gamble off the edge. Can't bring down Manning, but
He's got it. He's blown it down.
Tyler Brayton can. And they blew the play dead. Manning still having the football in his hands. A loss of 6, and Brayton gets the sack.
I don't know. I'm really surprised that Eli Manning is still in the game.
Well, again, I mean, it's not incredible or ridiculous to think of the Giants having something to play for next week, at least still being alive. With what we've seen the last few weeks around the NFL, I mean, who saw this coming today? Here's Hickson. Hickson is good for 12 yards.
You know, Bill Parcells used to keep the starters in situations like this as punishment. You know, because nobody really wants to be out there right now, and nobody knew that better than Bill Parcells, and so he wouldn't let them come out of the field. Maybe come out of the game. Tom Coughlin, who worked under Bill Parcells, maybe he's using the same tactic.
Matt Moore ought to be awfully proud of what he's done here again today, and he's making a name for himself, trying to go 3-1 over these 4 consecutive starts. 299 yards last week, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Vikings. 15 of 20 today for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns again against the Giants. Penalty flags. This one's against Carolina.
Encroachment. Defense number 96, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, this league, Joe, is really about getting opportunities, and then what do you do with those opportunities when they come about? And you know, he's done the most with his here certainly over the last 4 weeks. And you know, there's a number of quarterbacks. Jake Delhomme, who he replaced, he got his opportunity years ago when Rodney Peete was struggling. They put him in and he played great. He kept the job for all these years. Tony Romo in Dallas. A number of guys, Tom Brady in New England. I mean, who knows? This could be the start of a good career for him.
Here's a pass picked off, intercepted by Chris Harris. Dominic Hickson, the intended receiver, and that is the 4th turnover of the day for the Giants. And now the Carolina offense, which has rushed for 250 yards today against New York, which is the most the Giants have ever allowed at this stadium, will go back to work. And there's the guy who's been responsible for the majority of it. As you look at the 4th turnover of the day by the Giants, and Harris has his 3rd pick of the season.
Well, it's a humbling game. And you know, you talk about the 250 yards by Carolina running the football today. And again, to go back to what we've kind of talked about, it wasn't like the Giants didn't anticipate that the Carolina Panthers were going to try to run the football. And that's hard on any team, because basically it comes down to who's tougher than the other guy. And Carolina won those battles in the trenches today, and that's why they won this game.
Looked like Steve Smith with his hand was signaling how the Giants season has gone, like a roller coaster, up and down. 5-0 start, lost 4. Now they are, after winning 3 of 5, they're in a position where they could become the 5th team since the merger, if it doesn't play to their favor the rest of today and into week 17, to not make the playoffs after a 5-0 start. That's on the table. The 74 Patriots, 78 Redskins, Saints of 93, and the 03 Vikings, and the Giants, who started 5-0, could very well be the 5th team on that list if the Dallas Cowboys win tonight or next Sunday at home against Philadelphia, no matter what the Giants do at Minnesota next Sunday.
Well, at 5-0, I mean, we all thought the Giants were the best team not only in the NFC but in all of football. And it was a big time crash after that.
We're going to overtime in New Orleans. The Saints missed a field goal. So bonus coverage is coming up momentarily. We'll come back and wrap up our day here at Giants Stadium.